It's the Wheelhouse Podcast with Z and Sergio on Not Your Average Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Wheelhouse Podcast. It's your boy Comic Phil Medina. This week's episode, we're going to be taking you back to May 18th for the Cannabis Curious event held at their new Ventura location. Listen and enjoy. A lot of interesting topics were brought up, and hopefully they answer some of your questions.
So guys, did you hear that? This gentleman needs a round of applause to come out. Can you guys all give him a round of applause? Mr. Eric Thies! He doesn't come out unless you give him one. Woo! Thanks, you gave me material. So first and foremost, thank you guys for all being here. I'd like to give a shout out to quite a few of our little sponsors that have taken the initiative to really help Wheelhouse present this event. This is our fourth Cannabis Curious event, where we continue to get open to the public questions and answers and get all your questions answered. I will set a preface and we'll introduce the team and then we'll go from there. So let's start off with the thank yous. Let's thank Frontside Cafe for the amazing food. Let's thank the Roxbury Deli for being one of our partners. Topa Topa for the beers. Atharva Workforce for making sure we hire the right people and do the right thing. The HR firm to making sure they keep us protected and making sure our staff continue to stay with us for a long, long time. I want to thank all our partners. I also want to thank our families. I also want to thank the nonprofits. We've been doing a lot with nonprofits, and it's been an amazing adventure for us at Wheelhouse, just helping our neighbors and being a neighbor. And as growing up in this city and this county, we just love that part of it. Last, and definitely not the least, thank you to our customers. Without you guys, we would not have a business. We would not be able to give back to the community. We would not be able to educate the community. So thank you to our customers for all your support. Thank you for always having our backs, and we really, really appreciate and thank you guys. So with that, let's introduce our partners and the speakers. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. They've all been through this in the cannabis world. If you're in the cannabis world, you have to do a lot of presentations because people need to be informed. So let's start with Abe.
Hello, how are you? My name is Abe Shelton. I'm a brand manager and co-owner of Autumn Brands Farms. We are a cultivator out of Carpinteria. Thank you. We're GMOG. We're family owned. My wife and I, and then one other family. Little closer. Sorry, GMOG. We own our own farm in Carpinteria. We grow and process all of our own flower, and then we have a brand that we get out and get to all of California as well. So it's really a pleasure to be here. We really value our community. We're born and raised, all of us, in the 805, and and we have zero investors, so it's our own farm. So.
Good evening, Sergio, part owner and operator of Wheelhouse. What's that? Yeah, so we're here to answer any questions. I'm sure you guys know a lot about us or want to know, and we're here to answer them.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Ross. I'm a lawyer. I have been a lawyer for about 25 years. I spent the first half of my career in big law firms. I spent the second half of my career in-house as a general counsel at some different technology companies. And now I'm spending the third half of my career as a partner in a boutique law firm. So for the last 7 years or so, which cannabis is like dog years, this industry moves so fast. I've been working with folks across the entire cannabis supply chain and technology companies and that sort of thing. I sit on the Los Angeles Cannabis Chamber of Commerce board. I do a bi-weekly email newsletter on this dynamic industry because there's so much to keep track of. And and I'm really excited to see new jurisdictions like Ventura opening up for patients and consumers. So it's really great to be here. Thank you.
My name is Eric Thies. I'm with Cali Heights. We are a brand, distribution, manufacturing, and a brand out of Los Angeles that is proud to call Wheelhouse a customer, client, and friend from their roots in 2014, beginning of 15. So thank you for having me.
So unfortunately, the chief of police wasn't able to make it. So he was going to be the guy who does the presentation, go over the statistics, the boring numbers of how crime rates are the lowest it's ever been in Port Hueneme, how no DUIs equal any violent crimes or accidents with cannabis versus alcohol, no domestic violence issues with cannabis users, and all this fun stuff that shows how cannabis stigma is incorrect. So with that being said, I just gave you his presentation. That's my abbreviated version, right? I had to make this up on the fly. So I really want to make it a very open, friendly forum where I would love to hear questions from the audience coming from the law side, compliance, HR. How do you cultivate? How do you invest? How do you build a brand? What are the laws? What does it take to actually operate a retail location? What does it actually take to cultivate? How hard is this space? Is there really a big bag of cash back there? Shh. With a big vault of weed. So we want to make sure we get all the stigma out of the way, especially on the legal side of the market. Really educate the customers and educate the public and get anything out there that we need to get answered. So who would like to go first? All right. Go ahead, Phil.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm actually a doctor, and I'm going to hit y'all hard up front. So basically, whenever any confused animal or child comes into their office space, they do a drug test first. How can you help with that?
Repeat the question again. I apologize.
Hi, my name is Chris.
No, that's all right. I got the Chris part. Sorry. And you're a doctor.
I'm a doctor, so with every veterinarian and every emergency room doctor, whenever there is a confused animal or child coming in, the first thing they do is run a drug test.
So why is that the hospital policy?
It's not. It's the physician's decision
Got it.
because there is so much consumed product that is non-intentional. How can you help prevent that? And I'm pro-cannabis.
No, I'm with you.
I think the first thing that comes to mind would be packaging. Things that are left out in the open that could be consumed by a child or a pet need to be packaged better, need to be in child-resistant, child-proof packaging, dog bite-proof, cat scratch-proof packaging.
My dog? Do you know what my dog? No, just saying. Yeah. But how can we educate the public, like how to put their product into places where children and animals can't get to them? I'm sorry.
It's kind of like the alcohol. It's really up to the responsibility of the consumer, the adult, to make sure they lock their products up in a safe environment. Just like I have a 1-year-old, the moment she can walk, what do? You put child safety locks on all the doors, you put everything, you put that little gate on the stairs so she doesn't go up the stairs and fall down, right? That's the same type of education that we're trying to give the community. Our marketing is not towards anybody who's a minor. We really focus on making sure that we just educate the community and make sure that they just avoid getting that safety part of it down and making sure they could keep their cannabis in a safe and locked environment. Did I answer the question? Yes. Okay, of course.
But if you could do some efforts in the community to express that, I think you would get some.
Oh, perfect. So I'll give you a couple examples of what we do now. I'm glad you said that. So we work with the local police department. We work with the local school districts. We work with everybody in the local community to make sure that I'm a board member of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So kids are very, very important to me. I'm a parent and all that fun stuff, right? So what we do is we make sure that we have events exactly like this to educate the community, making sure we follow all compliance rules. We don't market to the kids, and we go and work with our neighborhood and saying what's really going out there. The biggest increase we've seen in any kind of vapor usages is tobacco and flavored tobacco. Cannabis has coincidentally not been an increase in some of the schools, and at least in Port Hueneme in that school district right now, and we haven't seen an uptick. So that's the good news. But we still see that happen. It's really about the parent locking that product up and making sure they keep it safe and away from the children or their pets. Now, the other side of it is vet CBD. I mean, we can offer it to the pets too, right? Great question, thank you. Yes, oh, great point. So our buyers really don't focus on buying products that will even imitate or emulate any candy product or products out there that would entice a child to go, hey, that looks like a bag of Cheetos or Skittles. And there are like names in the industry for products. So we make sure that those packaging and everything looks like it's for an adult, not an individual child.
Yeah, I would just want to echo that point and say we have conditions in this state and actually in every state across this country where you still have an illicit market that's operating, sometimes very openly. And one thing I try to do is to help create an environment with the right tax structure, the right regulatory structure, and balance that with the right enforcement so that the proper regulated companies who come in and have safe tested product, who check IDs at the door, who don't sell to children, who don't sell products that looked appealing to children or marketed to children. It's very important that every consumer also has to take into account when they walk into a retailer, am I walking into an official licensed, regulated retailer? So that's on all of us as well.
On the flip side of that, how can you help out people that have disabilities? I have problems with my hands and trying to open up some of those containers sometimes. It's a hammer. That's what I resort to.
So I bet that's going to be the next round of packaging, and that's a hint to the brands that are in this room. Hint, hint, is they have the prescription drugs where they are child safe, but when you flip them around, they become normal. So they start off, and it's up to the individual how they want to protect their packaging. So, gentlemen, get to packaging. No, but that's the answer. I mean, unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword to protect. Like some of the packaging, even I can't open, and I'm not having any issues with arthritis or anything at the moment. So, for me, just going in there and opening it up, it's still difficult because some of them are very difficult. Anybody else want to add to that? Yeah.
A lot of the times in moving through the packaging and early regulations in California was what was available. What child-resistant packaging could you get? And some of them were incredibly difficult to even understand. You would read them and you'd flip it over and be like, this is insanely adult-proof. Like, for that exact thing, you would hit it with a hammer, get a screwdriver, do whatever. There's a lot of them, like they said, it was, it's a single use. As soon as you open it, it's no longer child-resistant. So a lot of it is also working with the state on what is considered child-resistant and going from there. And then working with them to make them affordable for brands to be able, I should say that too. It still needs to be economical for not add $3 on the price of a product because all of a sudden it's made of something different or it's easier to open. It should be economical, it should be easy to use, but it should do its job.
Next question over here.
Hi, I wanted to loop back. You were saying a moment ago about discerning between safe sellers or legitimate sellers. And specifically, I'm wondering about services that are accessible online. I've noticed a difference in practices. Some of them show up and they're carrying inventory in their car, and they come to me quickly enough that I realize that they're carrying that around, on their shift or whatever, and addressing needs as they come up. Whereas like yourselves or other dispensaries in Port Hueneme, they come with a locked box in the trunk that they have to get out and come out and get. And so I can see a difference in practices and potentially safety and liability maybe for those drivers as well. And so I'm curious, how can we determine which are better businesses to buy from or verify that legitimacy that you're talking about?
So there's a couple things to that. One is the state law, which allows you to have what they call the ice cream truck model, where you can carry additional cannabis products, and there is a limit to that. The city of Port Hueneme has different regulations than the city of LA. A lot of delivery companies that are in LA are open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. We have a location in LA, and that's where we're open. So our rights to deliver start at 6 a.m. and they go until 10 p.m. So we can deliver to other cities as long as we have a permit in those cities. LA does not require lock boxes. They don't require some of these things that the city of Port Hueneme has put extra measures on because they were the first to go into the city and they wanted to be extra careful. So each location has its own pluses and minuses based on the city rules and requirements. Now, in regards to the illicit market, that's very simple. If they don't have their license number on any one of their websites, packaging, or anything, they're illicit. It's just that simple. The licensing requirements now forces us to document who we are, where we are. We have a QR code that's in every one of our windows that you can scan and tells you who the license holder is, where it's located, what the address is, to make sure the consumer knows they're getting a safe, legal product by a licensee. Anybody else want to add to that?
No, I'll just say if you go on Google, you can type in, cannabis license search or Department of Cannabis Control, and it'll take you to a page where there's one little box, and you type in the name, and if a license number comes up, then they're legit.
Great question. Yes.
Carrying a lot of deliveries, right? And so we try to get down to half an hour. So in Ventura, Camarillo, Oxnard, we try to be a 30-minute delivery service. So when you call us, we get a fast delivery. That also means that sometimes they got to tell you, I don't have that strain. You would have to wait. So when we're running specials, we run $20 8 specials, and they may not have that strain because my driver's out of it. So he's got to go back to the warehouse, pick up the stuff, bring it out to the customer. So he doesn't always want to do that. So that's why it may look like confusion, but we are very licensed, very strict on our everything. And a lot of times it may look like he has a lot of product, but yeah, we've never been robbed, ever. Yeah, never.
So the good news.
So there's a value amount that each driver is allowed to carry, which is $5,000 in the city of Port Hueneme. So let's say they have 10 deliveries scheduled, right? Maybe it's about $1,500 worth. They're able to pack their car up to $5,000 worth in the city of Port Hueneme. I just wanted to clarify that.
Which gives the real-time delivery opportunity, right? Because when you can actually see where the individual car is or whatever it may be, again, you can actually track and go that direction. Rod.
Customers have concerns of safety, of course, like she brought up. Are there ordinances that require the delivery vehicles to have cameras? And if they do, who enforces that? And if they're not being enforced, when is that going to happen? Again, for the safety of the customer, but more importantly, the safety of the driver, the delivery driver.
So I just went through an audit today for my LA location, and one of the first things they checked was, do you have a GPS tracker? Do you have a camera on there? And do you have all the compliance measures? So we are audited by the city. We are audited by the state. We are audited by the police department. We are audited by so many different people that we follow the rules because it's cheaper than paying all the fines and not being in business. Now, do all delivery companies follow the rules? Absolutely not. But again, we're not here to talk about what people don't do. We want to talk about what people should do and how they do it, right? We're here only to keep it positive and make sure that we support the cannabis industry in a whole. Because as I said, if the black market didn't exist, the license market wouldn't exist either, right? You can't have one without the other. So we really look at it and say, what can we do better than everybody else, and how do we provide safe, secure measures? Wheelhouse takes an extra step. We don't deliver to anybody, we don't verify the address. We are willing to lose a customer for the safety of our employees. It's just that simple. We won't take that risk. Does anybody else want to answer that? Okay, go ahead. Next question.
Bottom line, what is the holdup in Ventura, and what is the difference between dispensaries that have CBD and ABCs but no THC?
Okay, that's a great question. So I'm going to do the little political speech right now because, again, you asked the question, so it fits in perfectly. So there has been a process. There's been a process in Ventura. There was, I believe, originally about 50 applicants that applied in phase 1. Then 23 made it past phase 2. And now we're into phase 3, second part, which is the public hearing. There are a total of 8 dispensaries that have been invited to the public hearing. Out of those 8, there will be 3 awarded licenses. Currently, Wheelhouse is in the top ranking, and we are hoping to pass that public hearing with flying colors, and this would be the location for that dispensary. So right now, there is no holdup. It's just the timeline. It's June. The first 2 weeks of June will be the public hearing, and according to the timeline, end of the month, or the beginning of July, they'll announce the awardees. And then at that point, it's off to the races of how fast can we move to get this place open. Does that answer your question? We have yet to be announced any public dates or hearing stuff. We will let our customers and people know and our supporters know when that is. Yeah, it'll be at the city council. It'll be with the city manager and the council members. It's where the public will be able to come and speak on behalf or against the location, the individual, or whatever may you want to say. But my comment to everybody in this room, please support everybody, support cannabis. I'd love all your support personally, but again, I'm here for the industry. We support 10 other cannabis businesses that are not ours. We are here to be friendly. We are here to support the industry and really educate the community and do what's right for the neighborhood. Yes, sir, in the back. Oh, go ahead, Will.
So Wheelhouse is on the brink of doing something pretty big, right? Moving out of Port Hueneme, opening up their second store in Ventura. And I truly believe every city has their own culture, their own vibe, their own personality. How welcoming has Ventura been to you guys and the process of, verifying and getting situated to open up this potential store?
Want to answer this one? How friendly has Ventura been? Okay. So Ventura has been very welcoming for us. Again, we are 40, I've been a Ventura County resident for 40 plus years. Sergio has been a 40-year plus resident in Ventura County. Our partner Tom is a local city resident for most of his life, and his wife was born and raised here, and so is the rest of his family. Our other partner, El Marino Pugh, has been here for 39, 40 years in the city of Ventura. We've all been entrepreneurs here. We've all given back to the community here. So they all know us, and they've all been very welcoming. They still have a challenge with the word cannabis. And the 3 things that they are concerned about is safety and security, which we're addressing. I mean, we're in a bank building. That's what we decided to have our dispensary. Where else can you get a safer location than a cash-based business that's already a bank? Number 2, they care about localness. We are locals. We are here. We're always here. We've been here. It's hard to get away from this town without somebody knowing who you are, right? Especially if you're a local Ventura County resident, right? And then last but not least, how much do we give back? Wheelhouse donated over $200,000 in the last year to nonprofits and giving back to our friends and family that need the help. Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, Industry Horror, Autism Society. This guy loves doing the runs. We don't just write the check, guys. We actually show up to all these nonprofits and physically volunteer. So to answer your question, we are very welcome because we're already neighbors. We're already part of the community. So no issues there whatsoever.
Here's he.
There you go.
Couple questions. Just to go back to what you guys were speaking about earlier, how just seeing the percentages with the cannabis use versus alcohol use and how that is an effect in the data with that. Do you guys have compiled data that you guys can show to other cities as an example of what you can, Will you pass along to them?
That's a great question, and that's what the missing person was supposed to do today. That's Chief Salinas, and he's done that presentation for Ventura. He's done it for the county. He's done it for Santa Paula. He's done it for Oxnard, and he goes out and continues to be an advocate, not for smoking or abusing cannabis, but for the industry as a whole, and the stigma behind it is not true. So it really, I mean, I smoke cannabis. Oh my God. So that being said, wait, should I go back to my video games? Should we all sit in a circle and not do anything all day? But the best part of cannabis is there are those types of stigmas. But the best part of that stigma is, yes, when we do smoke cannabis, 5 of us will sit down and talk. We will communicate. Doesn't mean we'll have a dumb conversation. Does that make sense? Yes, he's already doing that right now. We have the presentation. Actually, Chief Salinas, I actually asked him, unfortunately his car broke down, but he's actually sending me the statistics so I can start sharing that. We'll be addressing that and giving that information. You can also find that on the Port Hueneme website. They actually have a cannabis website with all their events and all the information and all the other dispensaries. Sergio.
I just wanted to, I'm sorry I didn't get your name that spoke last. Mario. So we do have that data. And if you'd like for us to send it to you, please give us your email. Absolutely. We have three years worth. Yeah. Sure.
So currently, right now, the number one recycling product that people utilize, and there is programs for it, are vapor cartridges. And that's because those can be recycled. Other jars and other stuff cannot be recycled for whatever reason and stuff. So that's really it. If we can create and have packaging companies that can create disposable, biodegradable products, it'd be awesome. This is where everybody that can become creative in the industry, that for all businesses can now do it for the cannabis side too. Because at the end of the day, I always tell people there's no secret. We are retail. We buy a product, we sell a product. We work with our partners and brands to buy a product at a price. We turn around and hopefully buy the right product so the consumer comes in and purchases it, and we have a normalized business. I wish there was some rocket science to it, because then I'd be a rocket scientist.
Just really quickly to jump into the recycling side of some of the packaging and trying to make it more sustainable is we at Autumn Brands, we're trying to roll out a recycle program for our glass jars. It was February 2020, and when we rolled it out, it was mid-March, and no one was willing to take stuff back due to COVID. So we lost 2 years on that, but there are a lot of places. The issue with glass is it breaks. People walk in, they drop it into a container, it shatters. Whoever's picking it up has a bunch of broken glass in the bottom. So it's figuring out ways that you can, as a retail location, take back product like that without having it damaged, and then brands or someone else come through and use it. For us, we were rolling out a program where all of our glass jars, we took them back, we washed them, and then at either demos or some of our retail partners, we gave them out with a little packet, and in the packet it had expandable soil and flower seeds. So you drop that in there, you put water in, it expands. 10 days later, you have little flowers that grow. And it was just a cool thing. The other one is there's a company called Canna Candles that in LA, she used to roll around and collect a whole bunch of cannabis glass jars, and then she would make candles out of them and sell them at farmers markets and stuff like that. So I think on the packaging side, it's just really important to push companies, push the state, push people to sustainable packaging that can be either repurposed, reused, or recycled. This industry has an issue with really emphasizing new plastics because they're wildly cheaper than hemp plastic or ocean plastic. So it needs to be a shift across the whole industry. And it's something on, not the retail side, but on the manufacturing, on the brand side, and on the packaging side to work with the state for that. But there are ways to do it. So,
Yes, sir.
I'm in the medical field. I work in hospice agencies, and one area we really concentrate is pain management. My question is, what are you doing to educate healthcare professionals, medical facilities such as assisted living facilities, and what products do you promote for pain control for medicinal purposes?
So that's kind of easy. When can I come and present to your entire place? That's what we do. We do reach out to living assistance communities. I've reached out to even like we've done Family Circle. We've donated money to them and gone out with them. We've gone all the way out to San Diego, where I have another friend who's owns a bunch of facilities, where we just come out there and just educate, answer questions, kind of do exactly what we're doing here, and present and ask anybody and everybody their questions and figure out what's right. Now, the question of pain management and what's the best thing, for each individual person, there's a different recommendation. So we'd have to figure out what that pain really is, what's causing it. Is it external? Is it internal? And then figure out the best recommended products for that. But I always say this, I'm lactose intolerant, other people aren't. So just because it says the same ingredients, it affects people differently. So there is a little bit of trial and error to that. But I'll pass it on to the brands because they actually do a lot more research on the back end. I know Autumn Brands has other products like salves and creams that they could talk about. And I know Cali Heights has also that types of products. So I'll give it to Abe.
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, when you're talking about bringing new people into cannabis use for pain or for sleep, just really dosing education is a huge point for that, and starting them slow and moving them up. I know these guys do a great job in education on starting slow, stuff like that. The other part for pain, it doesn't necessarily have to get you medicated to heal your pain. So like for us, we do have some topicals. We have a muscle and joint salve, one of my personal favorites. And unless you start eating it, you're not gonna get stoned off of it. But it does help a lot with that. And there's a lot of products out there like that people don't utilize because of the stigma of this industry. They go more towards a CBD that they can buy at 7-Eleven, or they buy it online and then they get it and they're like, it doesn't work. And it's apples and oranges. They're two completely different things. So again, it comes back down to a lot of educating, and we've worked with a lot of different industries helping to educate. I know in Long Beach, there's the community college there. They run a cannabis education course where they bring in people new to the industry or older folks who are trying to get off of certain medications and drop those off. And so it's kind of working with all of our partners around there to really see what the pain is, because again, there's no one fix for it. It's what's the pain, and how can we help it? Yeah, it's trial and error, but it's also starting slow.
As a brand, we work with as many dispensaries as possible to let them know about how our products can help their clientele, their patients. Whether it be a vape cartridge, which generally combats a variety of things based on who you are, or something that you don't see on the shelf. We do what's called RSO and FSO, which are oils that we give out in syringes that we can't directly give to patients. We give them to the dispensaries. This isn't a branded product. This isn't something that's, Cali Heights you're going to find on the shelf. This is something that we give out in our compassion program with different options to get started on how you can use it. And we do our best with the dispensaries to let them know when they are speaking to their patients specifically, this is how it can help them, but you need to listen and make sure, again, as with any cannabis product, start small. You can never take less once you've taken it. But we do a lot of stuff to help with pain management and just better quality of life.
So I just have a recommendation. What about CAPS Media, having these educational events on CAPS Media so people that can't attend in person can see it on TV and it's all in Ventura County?
We would love to figure that out. Right now, we are recording the entire thing. The plan is to make sure it has different versions, including converting this into Spanish speaking, so that people can have that also. Because one of the best things that I heard, and one of the nerve-wracking things, was one of my own employees said their parents wanted to come because they still don't understand the cannabis, even though their own child works at our dispensary. And that makes me understand that they're willing to be open-minded for the work, but they still don't understand the product. And as you guys all will know, if you believe in your product, it sells. If you don't, it doesn't, right? So it's really that important for us to know and educate. So we got another hour, right? Sure. Right. I'll give you guys the abbreviated version, and then I'll let the other guest speaker speak. Simply put, from the start, we have to pay a background check before we even hire an employee. Before we even do the background check, we have to hire a third-party company to make sure they get us the right quality individual. Again, there's a lot of people that smoke cannabis, but they can't run a business of cannabis. There is a big difference. And so we need to make sure we get the right quality individual. So that's an expense. So far, we got an expense that we can't even know that we're going to get a return on. So getting a higher cost employee right now is very difficult in all retail markets. Now you add this additional expense, it becomes even more expensive for cannabis. Number two, the regulations for our product. Metric has been in California. It's called a track and trace program. From every seed to sale, even those samples, the ones that you guys always say, can I have a free sample? We have to log that. And we have to know where it went, how it got there, who bought it, where did it go. We need to make sure the taxes are paid on every single one of those products. Excise tax, city tax, sales tax, right? Did you guys notice I said lots of taxes? So all those get put to the consumer. Because again, to be a successful business in retail, again, it's not rocket science. They said, we have to buy it at X and sell it for Y, and there better be a profit margin at the end. Otherwise, none of us are in business, and I can't sell you guys anything, right? We're out of business. So there's that minimum. Then we add the taxes. We add the testing. We add the acquisition of an employee. Then let's add the fact of rent and acquisition of a cannabis property. If we add that into the mix, you're going down a very steep slope and not in the right direction. So those are the challenges we have to face, but that's what differentiates us. Those that succeed in the industry know how to adapt to this adverse environment. I know Sergio's shy, but he's been in the business the longest. He's the most experienced. He's been the most fluid. Almost as long. He's been longer. He's been longer. How long you been in? Wait, let's go there. Let's go there. How long you been in the business, Sergio?
2009, San Diego.
So Abe, 2014.
Yeah, 2016.
Sergio wins. 2013.
There you go. So, Sergio wins, right? Because he was the first one to say, let me take the risk. And San Diego was open to that risk. And, he had to even shut down, had to lose his business. Because all of a sudden, one day he gets a letter that says, you can't operate this way anymore. We're changing the rules on you, right? And that happened quite a bit in 2012 to 2020. Regulations changed, packaging changed, testing changed. And every time that change happened, somebody got stuck with the bill. Usually the cannabis operator, right? So. Wait. Where's the banker in the room? There's a banker in the room. There he is.
We don't know. We don't know what the new taxes will be. We don't know what it's going to cost to get things into other states. With gas the way it is, getting product from here to another state is going to be impossible, right?
It's also a double-edged sword. When you make it federally legal, what are the rules that are going to apply? Are you going to make it the same as alcohol, where you have each city apply and tell you how many licenses they're going to issue, versus, hey, by the way, it's a free-for-all, let's go. And, the big boys come in, and then the market changes a little bit. So there's a balancing game. We are open for it either way. As we said, we're entrepreneurs. We'll stay fluid. Our job is still remain fluid and stay apprised to the rules and regulations and hopefully keep up with them, right? But I would hope that would change a little bit of the mindset and hopefully also the profitability, where we can bring the customer price down, basically, for the taxes and all that stuff. Because again, if nobody knows what 280E is, go look up 280E and then you'll understand how difficult the cannabis business is. Forget about all the other stuff I complained about. Forget about that. Just look up 280E. That kills our business.
Yeah, go ahead. So you guys remember watching Miami Vice, right? There would be these cocaine dealers who drove these big, long speedboats and had mansions by the water. Well, back in the early 80s, there was a cocaine drug dealer, kind of like living that lifestyle. And he didn't want to go down like Al Capone for tax evasion. So even though he was selling drugs, he decided he was going to pay his taxes. So he did, and he deducted his business expenses because he's a businessman. And everyone got upset. They said, how can you, this is an outrage. Well, he went to tax court and he won. Congress was so upset by this that they amended the Internal Revenue Code, and they passed Section 280E, which says if you traffic in controlled substances, and cannabis is on Schedule 1 of this DEA list, so it's a controlled substance, you cannot deduct ordinary and necessary business expenses. So your rent, your marketing, all these things. Well, it turned out there's a little massaging on there, and there's something called cost of goods sold, and if you're an accountant, there's ways to help minimize this somewhat, but it kind of depends what part of the supply chain you're in. And bottom line, 280E means that businesses like this one have a very high effective tax rate, and it's very difficult in margins. So, yeah.
How much education and is going out towards doctors, the medical field? I personally have worked in the disability field for some years, and I've encountered a lot of participants where the first thing is you take your participant in, they have problems with aggression, they have problems with sleeping, and doctors are shoving pills right down their throats. And when that doesn't work, let's add this one, and then increase this one. When so much can help if they were to be able to use cannabis. But then you run across parents that even though they have a 40-year-old son, they look at their son as a 5-year-old. Or you're dealing with Tri-County Regional Center, and that person can't legally say that they want this because there are other entities above them that, even though they have all the rights that everybody else have, but everybody else has to check the box first.
They've been doing a lot of studies, and as the studies come out, doctors have access to them. A lot of doctors, are rewarded by moving pills. So cannabis isn't going to be something that they look at as the first option, unfortunately. That's going to change with time. Going federal will help. When the government all of a sudden says, you know what, this might not be a bad thing, more studies will happen. A glass of wine every night is good for your blood pressure. These things will happen. So it's just a matter of time. And the doctor you choose. So.
Legalities, it's actually looking for attorneys that will actually speak up for the individual, and you don't find that very often.
we've been rolling out an affiliate program to help work with a number of doctors who want to start, telling their patients that some of these products can help us. For us, it's not our flour, it's not a smokable product. It's more our muscle and joint salve. It's our elixirs, which are like a tincture minus the alcohol, and it's giving them the opportunity to try those, do their own research on them as well, and say, yeah, we have patients that this would be really good for. And again, going back to dose the right way. Start slow, work your way up. But one of the larger problems is on the doctor side is that they still need to tell their patients that this is what they think they should do, and then send the patient to a retail location or a delivery service. And as long as the stigma is here, there's a lot of people that have an issue with doing that. And so the more that we break it down, a doctor can say, yeah, I really think this is a good thing, and I don't feel like I'm risking anything by telling this person they should go to Wheelhouse and they should, pick up one of the muscle and joint salves, or they should go here, or they should buy it through a delivery service and come and get it. I think that's one of the biggest things is federally legal will change things as well, but the stigma, as soon as that's broken down, people will feel free to really tell their patients what they really think and not necessarily feel that there's a repercussion for doing that.
I was going to say, we just need to keep our doctors educated. My pediatrician, surprisingly enough, is a customer. When my grandma was in the hospital and I told the doctor what I do for a living, she looked at my grandma and said, stop taking the medicine I just prescribed you, take his. And that's how they look at it. They just can't say it in their doctor's office, unfortunately. So it's a challenge for them because, surprisingly enough, you saw we had a doctor in the room today asking cannabis questions who's pro-cannabis. So as long as they continue to be educated and continue to be out there and the consumer wants it, they'll give it to you.
Hey, everybody. I'm Martine, a longtime Wheelhouse customer.
Thank you for being a customer. Yeah!
I always look for an objective, resource about there's always new product on the market. Somebody's got this, somebody's got that strain, somebody's got this blend. And I was turning to one of the third-party directories, but I still wasn't able to gauge, what's good. And I'm wondering what you guys think. Is it any type of credentialing or 5-star?
Cali Heights on it. You know it's good.
How about this? I'll make it even easier for all the brands. Ready? If it's at Wheelhouse, we've had somebody vet it. That's the whole purpose of our buyer being their buyer, is making sure we're working with right brand partners that show up to events like this and help us educate the consumer with their products and services and really be a true partner to the community also. All our brands that are in Wheelhouse have to give back to the community. They have to participate in our annual charity events. They have to. It's part of our vision and values. It's our core principle. So I didn't want to get back to your question, Ken. There's a banker that's in here. I guess I can tell it out loud. They're slowly coming into the industry. It's a credit union, and it's going to be much cheaper than every other bank, and they're going to go nationwide. So there is banking. We currently do have banking. So people, that stigma of there's no banking, it's gone. We do have banking. It's expensive. That stigma still exists, but so does our insurance. Everything that anybody can charge us more on, we are here to be the scapegoat. Next question. I'm with you.
We're under a tremendous amount of scrutiny from the state about child resistance, and depending on what the product is, being able to reclose it as though it was, or close it as though it's never been opened before. We're under a tremendous amount of scrutiny from the state on everything we do. As rules, and we can't buy hundreds of thousands of packages either because those rules are continuously changing. So we do the best we can with what the rules are right now, and we will continue to do that. We would love to make something where you can just pop it open and be ready to go, and that's that. I would recommend, if you have trouble, once it's opened, transfer it to something else that's easier to work with. I know it the brand's job to get you stuff to try, and working with the dispensaries to say, hey, this is what you usually buy it. Maybe take this as well on us and try it, and it goes through the system. It's very difficult and expensive for our brands to give stuff away, so we try and we do the best we can.
I got an Oculus.
Rewards, baby, rewards.
So we have a few different programs. One is the rewards program. So we do have a rewards program. We have our customer appreciation day. We have BOGO days. We try to get all these different brands to really work with us to do different products and help you understand different products. For example, Cali Heights and Autumn Brands, I would say, are there at least once a week. Once a week on Mondays, and you're there like on Thursdays, Tuesdays. So basically, that being said, they come out there to literally help educate you about their brand and give you other products. So they'll do buy one, get ones. They'll do a bunch of different promos where the consumer can go ahead and try where they're not feeling like they're being sold. And that's the challenge for retail, is with the prices, with the taxes, with all the challenges, these guys have a really hard time giving away free product. It really becomes difficult because for us to give it to the consumer, first they want to give it to the bud tenders, because if the bud tenders don't like it, guess what? They're not going to sell it. So now we have 26 employees. Guess what? That's 26 items they have to give to our employees for sampling to make sure that they even like it. Some of them want it, some of them don't. Irrelevant. Then we have these different events where we can give out cannabis and do all that fun stuff. We have different programs. So just keep looking at us online, look at our specials, look at all that events. Plus, we have loyalty points. So loyalty points, every time you spend money with us, we're making sure we're giving you rewards and making sure we give you stuff.
Just wanted to make a comment back to the doctors and the doctor comments. I'm a chronic back pain sufferer, and I've been a sufferer for a long time. And every time I've gone to a pain doctor, and every time I've asked them about cannabis, from every doctor they've told me, I wish I could prescribe it to you, but there's no way I could prescribe it to you in a prescription. But they said, go ahead and use it anyway. Every time.
That's good to hear. I'm really glad to see that the industry is changing.
Time.
I believe. Sure. I love that. You set me up for a sale. I love it. So wheelhouseph.com. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. If you haven't already, join our Passport Club. It's called the Passport Club. Basically, it's our loyalty program where you'll get special messages because you are our member and part of our guest list, as you want to call it, where we'll go ahead and invite you to special events and items that'll take place where you get to know about discounts that other people don't know about.
Hi.
Hi, Maria.
I just have a question about the medical marijuana thing and the packaging issue that you encounter. I think it's really important for those people to have access to their medication. Is any way you can create or have a permission to have some sort of label to that specific demographic, that specific people?
That would be something that we'd have to take up with the state and its regulations, but until their packaging rules change, unfortunately not. I was even going to think, but I don't want to say this out loud because I'd have to talk to an attorney or somebody to make sure it's compliant. But, maybe when the delivery driver comes and drops it off, can they open the package for you? You know what I mean? Is that a service we can add when we're dropping off the package? Obviously, we cannot open any containers or packaging in the dispensary. But in the privacy of your own home, I don't know if that would be an issue. I'd have to follow through with that. Yes? Yeah, but that's the thing we'd have to take up to the state. So anybody who has an issue with the packaging, email the state and say, hey, we need you to change your packaging for X, Y, and Z reasons.
It sounds like there is a lot of people who are willing to go bypass their own doctor and resort to cannabis. What can we do as an industry and what can you do as a dispensary to fast track people to cannabis doctors like the Knox family up in Oakland, like Mara Gordon, who have solutions for people who may be diagnosed with cancer that only have 3 months to live? They don't have time to listen to a bud tender, unfortunately. So what can we do better as an industry to get that information to them, fast track it to them for their help, for their life?
First and foremost, thank you for the information. You see my point right there? This is what the whole purpose of this meeting is getting individuals in the same room, sharing exactly what their processes are. Those doctors, we should put their name on the website. We should be able to promote them so they can continue to promote others. Because, if one does it and they're not getting in trouble, then somebody goes, okay, I'll jump into it, then I'll jump into it. I'm sure it took you a little time to get into the cannabis law, right? Ryan, did it take you a little time to get into the cannabis law? It took you a little while, right, to get comfortable with it? So just like everybody else, it's a new thing, so you have to learn and get educated. So please do deliver those names to me, and we'll continue to reach out to local doctors and continue to do community events like this where doctors who support cannabis, we can keep their name up there in the front of everybody and say, hey, you have this ailment, go see this doctor. They are pro-cannabis.
Hi. With the industry growing so fast, how could someone that grows their own stuff, say, get into the industry and become a grower or work for these brands or something?
Ta-da!
First and foremost, you could apply at Wheelhouse. Secondly, for brands, this industry is growing incredibly rapidly. There is a wealth of spots out there you could go and apply for certain ones in the area that you live, whether it's Ventura County, Santa Barbara, LA. Any of the job sites now, they all have a cannabis space where you can Google and 170 jobs pop up in your area. So I think it's really just kind of looking for yourself and seeing where do you want to move into the space. Do you want to be on the brand side? Do you want to be on the cultivation side? Do you want to be manufacturing? Do you want to be retail? They're all really different sides to the industry. And so I would really just say, go into it being passionate about what you want to do rather than going in to say, I'm going to make a lot of money or I'm going to do this. Because if you go in being passionate about it, you'll really go down the avenue that you want to go to instead of kind of weaving your way through it. But that's the quickest ones. The other one is I get 30 people a week that reach out to me for jobs. And when we have them, 98% of our employees live in Ventura or Santa Barbara or Oxnard, Port Hueneme. So we always hire local because first and foremost, we really care about our community. And secondly, that's where we are. So if there's a spot or a brand that you like or a place that you really like, reach out to them. That's what I would do.
Cultivation, it's just like making beer at home, and then how are you going to take that to the next level? A lot of hoops to jump through, especially when it's a controlled substance of any kind. So it's tough taking your home grow where you got a couple plants and turning it into a business.
Yeah, and I was going to say, people can sometimes grow in different environments. Can you actually cultivate with the new regulations, new environment, new things that are out there where you're forced to do, where you're not in your privacy of your own home? Yes.
How you guys doing? Just maybe not a question, but just kind of a information sharing piece. When you were mentioning that local banks and credit unions are starting to be a little bit more supportive on the, on the finance side of things, just wanted to mention something for you guys and for your employees and in the industry that I'm a local mortgage lender. I've spent years looking for investors that will touch people that are in the marijuana industry, and there are some out there now. So
100%.
maybe some information I can pass along to you guys to share with your employees or even yourselves for people that want to buy real estate and just aren't able to touch anything or have access to any sort of financing because they work in the industry and have that stigma already.
Our information is public. Please send us that information because we're always looking. We always are looking. And there's a bad banker here. He doesn't realize he's a bad banker because he's a guest and not really speaking. You want to stand up for a second? You want to talk about it a little bit? Or you kind of want to get into this? Or you don't want to? You can say no. All right. The bad banker guy.
Hiding in the background. No, I'm not a bad banker. I'm like a reformed banker. But I'm a banker that gets baked, so it's really cool to be in banking and cannabis. So all these conversations are great, and Z is doing a good job talking about how difficult it is to operate this kind of business. Imagine trying to start a business. The first thing you do is you have an idea, you have a plan, you get funding, you start your business. Nobody thinks about where are you going to put the money. So many of these operators have been having to literally bury cash, store it someplace that they think is safe, and they get no breaks. Cannabis, if you say the word cannabis, there's a cannabis premium on everything. Banking, insurance, property, everything. So we're trying to change that. Like, we want to be an advocate for the cannabis community. The best way we can do that is to support the businesses and the owners and give them a share of, like, how can we help them grow? How can we make their businesses better and not profiteer off the back of the cannabis industry? Because the banks that came out and were doing this first, they were profiteering. They were taking dollars out of every deposit that a business would come in. You bring in $1 million, they're going to take $30,000 just for you to put in the bank. That costs you, the consumer, more money. That's not fair. It's not right. Nobody would pay that kind of fee in any sane, real transaction. So we think that by treating people fair and giving the opportunity for the community to grow and develop, it's going to help everyone, help you all. And I want to see businesses like Z's and Wheelhouse just thrive. And when we go fully legal in this country, which I hope we do, it's going to be a monumental game changer. I'll probably be out of business because at that point they won't need me. But until then, I'm here for the long road. So anyway, these guys really are legit. They're doing everything right. And he didn't say, he said he gets audited by the city, the state. He also gets audited by his bank. We're the real ones that are the pain in the butt to deal with. But yeah, thanks, man.
Yes, Ken. Yes, go ahead.
I had a question. My question was regarding my best friend, which is my pet, and the dosing. Where's the education? Where do we get the education, and where do like the homeless shelters and stuff get the education for the dosing, the proper dosing for CBD or even THCA? I used to use THCA and then the vet CBD, and then I would try different things, but the pets can't talk, so it's important to get the proper education because you don't want your pet to get the psychosis part of the THC and freak out, and I've had to kind of learn that part. I got a 14-year-old boxer next month, and I've been using the love grass, which is amazing, but I've kind of had to figure that one out on my own. I've gone into Wheelhouse, and there's very few that are really educated on the vet or on the animal products.
So I'm going to let two of the major pet lovers that I know personally talk about this, because both of them actually give their pets the same medicine. So,
First, yes, I have a 16-year-old dog. A lot of you have met him or seen him. Magazine covers. It is extremely difficult. There's no hidden knowledge. There's no hidden CBD formulation with THC for your animal. It isn't based on their size. It isn't based on their weight. It isn't based on their age or their ailments. Unfortunately, we're all in the same boat of start small, start with a ratio of very, very, very high CBD to very, very, very little THC, and work with it. I've found for my pet that you just keep the CBD consistent and find they can't talk to you, but you know your dog, you know your pet, 14 years old, you know your pet. And while we are doing this, the vets and the clinics are doing their research. They're all doing their research. This is new for everybody. It's only been a few years. It's not enough time to get a sample set because I've been giving my dog, CBD, etc. for a year and a half, 2 years, and he's getting older during that process, so you don't know what's working, what's not working. You can see what he feels more comfortable with, or he's a little bit more active with, or he seems to be sleeping, or she seems to be sleeping a little better with. It's all brand new. So the education, just like with anything else, is coming. There's tons of studies being done. There's West Hollywood Animal Clinic is doing a huge study right now. I've been lucky enough to donate a ton of product to them to make it happen. What's the best way to give it to them? Do you want to give them water soluble in their water? Are you giving them pills? Are you giving them injections? Is it in their food? So this is all brand new for everybody. So if you found a combination that's working, that's fantastic. Keep it going and tell people how you got there, how you got that product that works. People ask questions. Bud tenders don't know. That they know what's working for their pets if they've been doing it, and the conversations they have with the reps from Vet CBD or Lovegrass or whoever it may be. But that's it. This is trial and error. So as with anything, start small on the THC because you can never pull it back out once it's in.
There's also a law in the books now in California that allows veterinarians to talk about and recommend, cannabis products for their animal patients. So that's a nice change as well. So we're starting with the vets.
And I'd recommend reach out to the brand. That's always the first thing that I would say. Look at their website. Do they have resources for you on there? A lot of, if they're a brand that's gone down the line for a while, and again, going back to dog years in cannabis, is, if they've been a brand since 2018, then they've gone through many cycles and they've figured a lot out, and there's a good chance that they're going to have resources or information about their product. And if you don't see it, most of them have a contact info. If they are a well-established brand, or work hard on customer service, they'll get back to you pretty quickly. Like for our brand, I manage all of our customer service stuff that comes through. So if you have questions, just reach out to them. There's a good chance if they developed it, that they might have some useful information. They might not know your exact dosing for your dog, but they might tell you something that you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So.
Yes. Next question.
I'm curious as to what all of you do. This may be a question for each one of you, to keep up with compliance, because you're all in different sectors of the industry. I remember talking to Sergio one time, and he said he actually created an email address, and would sign up for updates from like the DCC, which is the Department of Cannabis Control and whatnot. I was curious as to what else all of you do to kind of keep yourselves up to date constantly, because it is always changing.
So, as Sergio said, making sure you're staying up with all the rules and regulations with each different department. Number two, making sure you have a good team of compliance officers and operational people. And last but not least, make sure that you have able and willing employees that want to follow the compliance. It's not just knowing the compliance and having it there, it's actually living by the document, not just having the document. So that's how we do it at Wheelhouse. Do you want to add anything to that, Sergio, about compliance?
We pretty much go on the same deal as, from the onset of Metric and all the compliance rules that came in, we hired a full compliance team, a full Metric team. This goes back to, again, that operating this space is incredibly expensive. To be a compliant brand, a compliant retail, and so it's really having the right team on board, and it's really being passionate about being compliant and not letting it lax and go, no one's checking. It's making sure that no matter what you do, it's here's how you do it, and the people that are in charge of doing it know that, and they know that they're in charge of the people that are underneath them and staying on top of it. So again, it's from the top down. It's important to the owner team, it's important to the management team, and it becomes important to your employee team as well. So, but the state definitely makes it difficult.
How do you stay compliant, Brian?
Oh man, I'm a lawyer, so I'm reading constantly, right? I publish my newsletter, so it forces me, because I'm interested anyway, but it forces me to keep on top of developments at the international level, the national level, the California level, the local Southern California level, and this is what I do in my newsletter every 2 weeks. And I am in the deal flow with my clients, working on issues and working on putting things together and creating, so I'm seeing what's happening at the street level, the trends happening in real time. So if you're immersed in it, if you enjoy it, if you find it fascinating, this product that spans every category, right? It's a medicine. It's an intoxicant for some people. It's an industrial product for some people, like hemp fiber, right? It's fascinating, and so there's no shortage of Rubik's Cube puzzles to solve in your mind when it comes to this stuff.
Compliance comes after us. I mean, it's there. It's in front of you every time. It's just easier to do it right the first time. There's no reason to cut corners. It's too hard. Sorry.
There's no doubt that many of the topics brought up tonight have to do with regulatory issues, compliance, taxes, and we're all cannabis people here. How can we help you? Who's lobbying or advocating for the industry in Sacramento, in Washington, D.C., and how can we help you as a cannabis community have the voice, have you as the industry leaders here locally have a voice, because we all want to help you. Can you make it easier for us to do that? Who do we write? Who do we call? How can we help?
Well, it depends what level of government you want to reach and what information you want to get. If you're looking at safety and packaging, you want to look at the state and their compliance people. You want to reach out to the Department of Cannabis Control and talk about their rules and regulations. Also, your local city council, because the good news about that is the state basically approves based on what the city compliance is. They're allowed to waive for or against whatever the city compliance is and exchange or expand or decrease whatever measures they want. So it's really going to the city for, like in this example of Port Hueneme, you'd reach out, to the city manager, and you'd reach out to the council, and you talk to the planning commission and see what they can do to change ordinances and stuff like that. In Ventura, again, it's the same, the city manager and the city council, and going after that prospect. So it's really going to the local government and asking what your needs and wants are and making sure they can comply. Like if Ventura said you can't have anybody that's not 21, even if they have medical or not, guess what? It's going to be 21 and over. If they said everyone's allowed 18 and over, okay. It's what the city requires, right? Now, we'll follow whatever the city puts into place and what the government, the voted council you voted for, and making sure they understand what you're voting for and what your needs are as a constituent. Anybody else want to add to that?
I would also say, if you're not in a city, your county supervisor, definitely reach out to them. And then I would go straight to the top, send the governor an email. The more taxes they roll back, the better it comes out to you guys price-wise. None of us like to add all these taxes on and make it expensive and see that. So none of us decided hey, that's a great idea to add taxes. So tell them all that you think it should be rolled back, and you can go all the way to the top.
Basically, voice your opinion to the politicians, guys. Voice your opinion to the politicians, the decision makers.
Hello? First of all, I want to thank all you guys for doing this. This is very informative. But I think we all need to look at outside of the box because we've heard the same issue brought up. And if any of you want to work with me afterwards, we'll talk. But the packaging, we all look at how to open that without having to restructure the entire packaging. What about a little tool that people need to try? Or because how hard is it to open up your can of paint? They made that little tool. It opens up great. I'm telling you.
So I think that's the thing. You got to standardize that, right? All the paint cans are standardized with the same lid, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, and then you have that handy dandy tool where people that have arthritis or older that can't open with a can, you've got that little gripper thing and pops it open. So I think it's maybe a tool, not necessarily the packaging. So we'll talk later.
I'm just going to throw it out there, though. I'm going to throw it out there, though. What happens when you forget your tool at home or you lost your tool and then it's not there anymore?
Then it's back. Portable. You can buy an iPhone cord any gas station. Circle K, they're all over.
I think we have an inventor in the room. I think we came up with a new product. Yeah! See, we sparked a new. I want 10%. Go ahead, Ted. So right now, Wheelhouse tries to work as much as possible with local brands. But fortunately and unfortunately, brands, because this is a new industry, are coming and going. And challenges in the industry have caused a lot of consolidation in the marketplace. So today here, it's gone tomorrow. We've heard that. Number two, it all depends on pricing. Again, consumers are very sensitive to pricing. Adelanto is much cheaper in taxes than other cities. LA is 10% higher than Ventura County. We're talking about 10% of gross sales. That's a big difference. That could hurt anybody's bottom line. So really, it's going to come down to making sure we build the right partnerships, work with the right partners, and hopefully those partners survive and we help them survive, right? Because as I went to Hall of Flowers, the best experience that I had there was Sergio and I have been in the space for long enough since 2016, where we see a lot of brands we help put on our shelves, still on the shelves, are still compliant. The owners had that passion, they had the vision and values, and we're still here breathing, barely, but breathing.
See you over here.
Yes.
Hi, my name is actually Daniel Wilson, and I'm actually running to represent us here in Ventura County at the state assembly level. So I would actually love to talk to you all. Not only do I have some ideas for how we can improve the cannabis industry and a lot of the pains and the issues that you all deal with. Former cannabis worker, so I know I've been through a lot of the issues and the hurdles. I'm also a veteran that uses it for pain management and things like that. So I would love to sit down and talk to you guys. Anybody else that has any questions and would like to give me some ideas or anything that you have that would like to be taken up to the state level.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting cannabis. Oh, you don't get a question. I'm sorry. You bother me way.
As a few of you know, I work in the CBD and hemp industry, and we were able to do samples and things of products all the time, and I know that's a big thing on the THC side. You know, paying $40 plus for a product can be really hard when you don't know how it works. Curious for you guys as a question, with these consumption lounges, will they be able to have like education entities where you can try the product? Also wondering for some of our disabled or senior people if they'll be able to, you know, open their product right there and have that ability with, let's say, a bartender, an educator, that type of thing.
Remember I said I didn't want any more questions from her? I want only that question from her. So we are in the process of opening a cannabis lounge in the city of Port Hueneme. We have taken it to that next level. We've submitted our plan. The idea behind the lounge is exactly what you just stated, is having those people that live in apartments. They cannot smoke because they have a non-smoking policy. They can come into our lounge and consume. The individuals that want to try a new product and have a tasting, it works great. Brands love it, right? They can actually get their product and get a real-time reaction and real-time understanding of what works and doesn't work. Last but not least, it's a members-only thing. So you can get the help. We have the bud tenders there. We will have staff there that will be able to assist you guys with education. We'll have events there. We'll do comedy there. We'll be doing a lot of things there that will support the community just like any other business. That's our goal. We just want to be normalized. That's it. I want to compete fair and square. Give back, yeah.
Hey guys, my name is Brandon, and I'm a former attorney. Practiced for about 7 years now. I'm doing real estate, and thank you all again. I want to echo the gratitude to all of you for putting this on, and some of you guys have been doing this for years, so thank you even more. But my question is, I'm trying to think. I'm an ideas guy, tried and true. It's like, how do we build that bridge, so to speak, between people that are very familiar and not yet very familiar, but wanting to become very familiar with cannabis and the use, with the people that are just so, they hear CAN and there's they don't want to hear anything more about it. So I'm thinking of a movie night. I mean, you guys have already done a lot about things like tonight, just kind of extending that invitation to the community. But even for non-cannabis users, do we have any ideas as far as ways to kind of extend that arm or build that bridge?
Sure. And remember the question I asked, how many people use cannabis earlier? Half the room raised their hand, the other half didn't. So the good news is we do have that going on. As I said, some of our employees have parents that are still curious, as we call it. We will continue to do events like this. We will continue to get support from individuals like you that say, hey, come to this event, come do this. Do you mind speaking at this event? Can you come educate? Any chance we have to come and give back to the community, especially education, that's something that's in our hearts. So we are truly passionate about that. So even before Ventura was even in the thought process of an application process, Cannabis Curious was already invented. It was already created, and we started doing this a long time ago. Even in our old days, in our other locations. We were the first when the transition took place for consumers and for licensing. We literally had every brand owner come to our shop and tell us why we should put them on the shelf. Not the sales guy, the owner. And then we said, is your product compliant? Yes. You mind saying that on video? We're going to put you on a commercial for ourselves. And we'll put you in our dispensary, and we'll have the TV, and your brand will be advertised, and you personally will tell them why your product is safe to use. Because we wanted to be the first compliant store. We wanted to be the first. Don't wait to the last minute. Yes, we may suffer. We may not get the revenues. We may lose some product. A lot of decisions that hurt the business. But we wanted to stay forefront on compliance, safety of our customers, and making sure we educate them. And that's who we are. That's just our core nature. Yeah.
Don't see the gentleman that was talking earlier about what can we do as a community to help you out. And along with that is education. We're smokers, and my wife one day said, oh my God, the grandkids are over, put the bong away. I'm like, why? It's legal. You wouldn't have a problem pouring wine, having a beer. This is legal. We just have to educate them that, this helps. It's like medicine for us. And I think that's a big part, especially the younger kids now, because they're our future. They're the ones that are going to be dealing with this, and you guys have already marked the pathway for them, and they can just take it and run with it.
Agreed. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gentleman first.
Well, I'm an old guy with a young.
How young are you?
Yeah. And I don't have a question, I just have a statement. I saw the big ad in VC Reporter and I was curious. I've always been curious for several years. I've never taken the product. I'll start. And I just want to say that I thought there'd be a lot of young people here, a lot of young guys and girls. And,
What are you calling me old?
But as you can see, this is a real representation of our community, I think.
That's correct. Thank you. Thank you for that. We got one on the other side, guys. We got one. We got one on the other side.
I'm a newbie.
Welcome, welcome. No, in all honesty, come in and we will definitely walk you through the process, educate you, and make sure that you use the right product for whatever you need.
Well, I'm thinking, does it help depression? Yes. That's what I'm interested in. Not really depression, but loneliness, sadness, lost my wife. My 3 kids live in town, but I only see them once a month. What's happening, you know? People just aren't sociable. In any event, what I really want to say is that I know several people on the city council. I'll be sure to talk to them personally. Over the years, I've even got a couple of people on the city council. I used to be the manager of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
I want you guys in the community. And there's no reason. I mean, people, you know, complain about people getting drunk and accidents and all that. I mean, what's wrong with this? This is not going to kill people. This is not like that. So this has really been an education to me. I hope you will, well, first of all, I'll certainly show up at the city council and give a few personal calls over the phone. And let's encourage everybody here to do that. Because
You heard the man. I'm not pitching for myself here. Look, in all honesty, again, as I said it, and this is just who we really are, we like to compete. We like to be the best in everything we do, and you can only compete when you have competitors, right? So we are truly supporters of the cannabis industry, but yes, we do like to win.
Okay, so show up sometime in June. We'll get the dates. The Breeze always tells what's coming up and what to do. VC Reporter and the Star, of course. And this has been real educational. I hope you do more of them. I also suggest that you talk to a lot of the local clubs, the Rotary Club, Lions Club, Kiwanis.
There's the Rotary guy right there. We're talking to him as we speak.
I used to be a Rotarian. These guys all look for speakers, and this is the way to get the message out. And if you go to those type of clubs, they're going to say, hey, this is on the level, and tell their wives, their family, and everybody, and that it's a good thing, you know?
Thank you.
Let's get
Thank
over
you.
it.
I want him representing us now. He's our political action. There's our new lobbyist right there. Yes, Ken. Correct. Correct. So we have in the front lobby, we have a written petition if you don't want to go online. We also have a link to a petition that we've created online where you can just click in, put your name and address. The more Ventura County residents and we have that are supporting us, obviously the city and the county have to follow what their constituents want. You hired them, right? They want your votes. So if you vote for us and say, hey, these are the right people, they are the right company, they are the right team, and this is the kind of people we want doing business in our neighborhood, please, we would not have a problem with you sharing that information. That made a smile on my face. Thank you for making my day. There you go. So yeah, and I think you're at every event. He actually wore the Wheelhouse hat, our first edition hat, the very first one. We only had one. And he was on his way to Spain, and he's like, I want to represent. And he wore the first hat to Spain. So with that, I want to be very considerate of time. We actually have gone over, but that's okay because everything's been enjoyable. My question is, if anybody would like a tour, I am willing to give them a tour of the building. If you can see the posters on the wall, that's exactly what the dispensary is going to look like in the future, if approved. And we look forward to continually serve the community, giving back, and not hiding from cannabis. Thank you guys for attending. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank all the brands. Thank you for our partners. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here and speaking. These guys have survived the tough, tough industry, so thank you guys.
Thank you. You're on your feet. That sucks.